Assalamu. طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. طيب, last week's class Jibreel was about what? Al-Qada. Okay, good. Avoiding practicing qada while in a state of anger, or anything which is bothering or disturbing your emotional mental state. Okay? Mahad? The reward for the qadi even if he's wrong. Even if he's wrong. Tayyib? Anything else? Tayyib, al-muhim, is there a contradiction between the hadith that states, it's good, Sheikh too, mashallah. Jazakallah khairan. Honey lemon tea, huh? MashaAllah. Tayyib. The reward of the qadi who makes ijtihad. So if he makes ijtihad and he's wrong, what was his ijtihad based off of, Mahad? How could it be wrong if it's the Quran? But he got it wrong. What's meant by that? إذا اجتهد. What's meant by his ijtihad? Using the Quran and Sunnah, or making a ruling that isn't based off of Quran and Sunnah? Then wouldn't the Quran and Sunnah be the dalil? So how can it be ijtihad then? Regardless of the mistake, right or wrong, what is ijtihad? Using Quran or Sunnah, or not using Quran or Sunnah? Something that is that's implicit. Right. All right. Chapter 8, the author rahimahullah ta'ala says, باب نقض الأحكام الباطلة ورد محدثات الأمور. حديث عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد. Okay. Next chapter 8. Chapter 8. The author, he says, to reject the false verdicts and the innovative things not present in our religion. Babu naqd al-ahkam al-batila. A ruling which was false, phony, fake from the get-go, has no weight, has no value, and qada. And something which is made up, created, novelty and innovation, has no weight, has no value, and qada. The only thing which is legal and legitimate is that which is based off of the rules of qada. From the etiquette of the qadi is that he isn't to lend his ear to falsehood, nor is he to pay any attention to falsehood. And as long as he's the judge, he's the qadi, he's responsible, nothing else matters of made up stuff. It has no basis to it. It means nothing. Marriage, divorce, property, ownership, hudud, punishment. If the hukm is batil, then it has no what? It means nothing. All right, tayyib. Very important. So oftentimes, if you're having a debate with someone or an argument with someone, it would be wise to take it to the foundation. If the foundation is shaky, let alone false, then everything else that comes afterwards must be. And from that today is what's going on in the world today with regards to Palestine, Israel, IDF, Hamas, so on and so forth. Let's take it back to the foundation, the origin of the lie, of the fantasy, of the fallacy. And from that is one of the strongest proofs that they use, one of the strongest types of proof is the right of return. Is that there's no country in the world that the Jews have to call their own. All other countries, they're Christian countries, there's the Vatican, they're Catholic countries, they're Muslim, Islam, Arab countries, but there's not one single country in the whole world that's just for Jews. Don't you think they deserve at least one country? You have the whole entire Middle East, they can't have New Jersey. The size of the United States, we can't have Delaware. Rhode Island, we can't have just a small slither of land just for us. You guys have the big Iraq, Iran, Saudi, Jordan. We can't just have small, tiny New Jersey. That bothers you so much. Secondly, that the people who settled in this land or in this country, they didn't come and steal anything. They didn't settle. They didn't colonize. All they did was just come back home. They came back home. The Romans, 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, kicked them all out, threw them out, and they just came back home. And the angry Arabs don't want them to come back home and to reclaim what is theirs. Thirdly, on top of that, is not only are they returning back home, but God said this is their land. No problem. So, I believe that the Palestinians have this right, but that's wrong. This should be so on and so forth. You've already accepted those lies. You've accepted those lies. And from that, historically speaking, not religiously, historically speaking, look at the colonial project of Zionism. Palestine was not the first homeland for the Jews that they were thinking about, but instead they shopped around Madagascar, Uganda, Argentina, and there's several other countries that they thought about relocating and making into their state. Then, through convenience and through killing 5 or 6 birds with one stone, it happened to be Palestine. But if you look into it historically speaking, that was never ever their intention. I just want to go home. I want to go home to my birth, the place of my ancestors. That's a lie. And if you accept that lie, then they're going to push you in the corner. They're going to push you in the corner. That's a lie. And not only is it a lie historically, not religion, not Arab, not Muslim, historically. Read the books. On top of that, that is beyond absurd. Beyond absurd. If I say right now I want to leave the United States and I'm going to go to Ghana and say, well, I'm back, guys. You got to leave. What are you talking about? This is my house. This is my father's house. This is my grandfather's house. My great-grandfather, that's where he used to sit. You got to go. I've returned. Or not Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, the Gold Coast. How absurd would that look and sound? That would be a laughing stock. Let alone who said, and can you prove that you have an unbroken bloodline that goes back to Ghana? For how long? 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years? Can you prove your unbroken genealogy back to Ghana, to this village? So for argument's sake, the Romans kicked you out, destroyed the temple 3,000 years ago, which is, that in itself isn't true. There were many Jews who left willingly and spread throughout the world. They were not kicked out by the Romans. But for argument's sake, can you trace back your lineage 3,000 years ago? Can you do that? So the concept of right of return, this is our homeland, is one big, huge, gigantic lie. Let alone the fact that if there was the intention from day one, then why did they think about going to Madagascar and Uganda? Because there were other factors involved. So the moral of the story is, if the foundation is fake and false, then everything else built upon it is going to be what? Fake and false. And 9 out of 10 times, oppressive. And this rule can be applied to any lie in history, which involves the loss and the destruction of thousands, if not millions of lives, property, bloodshed, and turmoil, in any war. So in Islam, the qada, if it's not based off of something from that which is correct, then it is of no value. The person, he doesn't owe you anything, because the qada was what? It was batil from the get-go. Everybody understand this? All right. So that's what's meant by this chapter. And this is from the etiquette of the qadi. Falsehood has no place in this courtroom. No matter who says it. And no matter who gave the ruling. Okay. Hadith number 1120 is the famous hadith of Aisha. She said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man ahdatha fi amrina hadha ma laysa minhu fahuwa radd." If somebody innovates something which is not present in our religion, then that thing will be rejected. And included in rejected is that which pertains to qada. Someone brings something into the religion, not according to the rules of the religion, in the courtroom in front of the qadi, it is mardud. Now, obviously, this hadith is well-known hadith. We've explained this hadith many times for the hadith of Nawawi, many other books, lectures, and classes. And many scholars, they say that this hadith is a fourth of Islam, or a third of Islam. And some of the scholars of Islam, they say, is that this hadith is the second half of the acceptance or the rejection of deeds, the scale for which deeds are accepted or rejected. The first half being the hadith of Omar, deeds are based off of intentions. And the second half being anyone who introduces something into this religion which isn't from, it will be rad. So the inside, only Allah knows about. And the outside, we do know about. You're wearing a black thobe, the hadith clearly says you cannot wear a black thobe to class. The ruling is there. So we have the zahir and we have the batin. The batin, innama al-a'malu bin-niyat. You don't know what's my intention. You don't know what's in my heart. You don't know what I intended. I'm not showing off. You don't know that. But outwardly, it has to go in line with the rules. Fahimna? All right. So the hadith of Aisha here is as a cornerstone of Islam. It is a major principle and a major maxim of the entire deen. The entire deen. Okay. Now, an example of how this hadith works is the famous issue which is known as talaqul bid'ah. Talaqul bid'ah. When a man divorces his wife incorrectly. He divorces his wife incorrectly. What's meant by divorcing her incorrectly? What are the scenarios for a man to divorce his wife incorrectly? How do we know that there's even divorce in Islam? How do we know that there's an incorrect divorce in Islam? Because what? How do we know this? Quran, just the Quran, brother. No hadith right now, just the Quran. What do we have in the Quran about divorce? What chapters? Which is number what? 67? John. You can't go for your hip, Yahi. It's hand-to-hand combat. There's no weapons. You didn't teach him? You don't have your belt. You utility. I want to catch Batman. What do? They would always what? They would do what? They would take his belt off. Right or wrong? And they say you're not so tough with your what? Without your what? The handy gadgets. Hand to hand. You can't use the phone. Tayyib. What number? 65, he says. You can look at it now. Tfaddal. All right. So there's a whole chapter in the Quran called what? At-Talaq, an entire chapter. Where else do we find the rulings of divorce? And Baqarah, or Nisa, or Ahzab, Tayyib, MashaAllah. Or what else? No other places Allah talks about divorce? Come on, Mahad. Quran, you're supposed to be a Quran student. Future Imam. من قبل أن يتماسى. Tahrim or no? طيب وهكذا. Allah speaks about divorce often in the Quran. All right? So what constitutes a man divorcing? If and when should he have divorce? It's divorce. He did it the wrong way. What constitutes an incorrect divorce according to the Quranic teachings? And maybe some hadiths, if you guys believe in them tonight. See the black thobe, right, Mind? See the black thobe, right? All black though. Tayyib. Nah, he's different. He's different. It don't apply to him. I got it. Don't worry. Yeah, it's different. Your man ain't here to back you up, so he's late. All right? You're going to fend for yourself tonight. Tayyib, what constitutes a mistake in talaq? You're the back of my mother. Telling your wife that she's like your mother's back. Would a man sexually approach his mother in the right state of mind? No. So for him to say that to his mother, that's what? For him to say that to his wife is what? That's a type of divorce though. I can't touch you. Like I can't touch my mother's back. Tell you, anything else? What would necessitate a mistaken divorce? A wrong? Divorcing her 3 times. Talaq, talaq, talaq. You're divorced, you 3 times in one go is a what? It's a mistake. That's wrong. What else? Out of anger. In general, you shouldn't get angry. You shouldn't speak upon anger, but however, mumkin, in general. You're that angry, you should do what? Keep quiet. Calm down. Think level-headed. All right, Tayyib? Majnoon.
He went crazy.
So he shouldn't divorce if he's Majnoon?
Maybe sick.
Or he shouldn't be married or what? All right, what else? What else necessitates a mistaken divorce? Huh? Not being advised, rushing into it. That's general principle. Being angry, that's general advice for any decision you make.
Divorcing on suspicion?
That's general. He divorced her, and last night he was intimate with her. It's a mistake. Unless she was pregnant. If the wife was pregnant and you just had intercourse with her and then you divorced her the next day, there will be no problem because she's clearly pregnant. So she's going to wait. Her iddah is going to be delivery. 1 week, 2 weeks, or 9 months. It doesn't matter. She's pregnant. But if she isn't pregnant and you had intimacy with her and then the next day you divorced her, that's wrong. That's a mistake in talaq. It's khata. He was supposed to wait until she finishes that 20-day cycle of cleanliness, of purity, 26 days, 25 days, then get on her mints for 6 days or 5 days, then come off her mints. So the day she makes the ghusl and she starts making salah and fasting, that's when he's supposed to pronounce the talaq. All right, what else would necessitate him a mistaken divorce? Being forced to, as general. How about he divorced her when she was menstruating? She was on her period. She was on her cycle. He's not supposed to issue the divorce. So all of these and other scenarios of a mistake in divorce. Incorrect talaq. Tayyib. He went against the rules of Allah and His Messenger, the rules of Quran and Sunnah. He wasn't supposed to divorce her while she's menstruating. He wasn't supposed to divorce her after he had sex with her. He wasn't supposed to divorce her 3 times all in once. He wasn't supposed to do that. He was supposed to have witnesses, etc. But does the divorce count? We all agree that it was wrong, and it was a mistake, and it was a sin. But is it valid? That's the argument now. Ali, does it count? He got a sin, but does it count? An example of this, a woman travels to make hajj without a mahram. Was she supposed to travel without a mahram? No, for sure. But is the hajj valid or not? The sin of her traveling without a mahram has nothing to do with the what? So if the man divorces his wife in the incorrect manner, does the divorce count? Or does it mean what? Nothing. He says it counts. Anybody else differ? طيب, the hadith states, من أحدث في أمرنا هذا من عمل عملا ليس عليه أمرنا فهو رد مردود. He who does something in this religion of ours which is foreign, which is alien, then it is what? Rejected. So some scholars, they say included in that is the what? The talaq that was wrong. It wasn't according to our affair. You make salah without making wudu, you make a different type of wudu, your salah will be what? Mardud, it will be rejected. So therefore, if a man divorces his wife in the incorrect manner, those scholars from this hadith and others, other types of proof and evidence, they say that it does what? Nothing. So if the qadi is of that opinion, and you stand in front of him with your wife, she's arguing, I'm free from you, you divorced me 3 times, the qadi could say what? Next, leave. You're still his wife. And the husband, you have to pay $2,500 as a expiation to her for emotional abuse. Now get out, next. So, what is the extent of things being invalid and having no value, no weight? You filled out an application, you were missing something necessary, you're waiting for the reply, and they call you and they say your application was what? So it didn't what? It wasn't processed. It was as if you didn't what? As if you didn't apply. Everyone understand this? Or the application was a little off. That was wrong. You get a penalty for that. But we took the application in. We fixed the mistake. We put it in. You applied for a new passport. That zip code was off of the address, and we put in the suggested zip code or the address. Fahim that? We put in the suggested zip code. You got it or not? You guys with me or not? Yeah. Everybody with me? The example clear or unclear?
Clear.
Okay. So that's what's meant by this chapter. And this hadith here, hadith of Aisha, among other texts from Quran and Sunnah, show and prove that opinion. That which isn't done correctly, that which is done incorrectly is of no what? Is of no value, including talaq. Including the talaq. All right, we're not here to discuss that in detail. I'm just trying to show you what the hadith means and how the hadith applies as a maxim, as a cornerstone. You bought something, you sold something in an incorrect way. We say what? The person doesn't owe you anything. There is no return. The contract never even took off the ground. It was batil from the get-go. All right, طيب. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, قال أهل العربية المراد هنا بمعنى الرد هنا بمعنى المردود ومعناه فهو باطل غير معتد به وهذا الحديث قاعدة عظيمة من قواعد الإسلام وهو من جوامع كلمه صلى الله عليه وسلم فإنه صريح في رد كل البدع والمخترعات وفي الرواية الثانية زيادة وهي أنه قد يعاند بعض الفاعلين في بدعة سبق إليها فإذا احتج أو احتج عليه بالرواية الأولى يقول أنا ما أحدثت شيئا فيحتج عليه بالثانية التي فيها التصريح برد كل المحدثات سواء أحدثها الفاعل أو سبق بإحداثها. وفي هذا الحديث دليل لمن يقول من الأصوليين أن النهي يقتضي الفساد ومن قال لا يقتضي الفساد يقول هذا خبر واحد لا يكفي في إثبات هذه القاعدة المهمة وهذا جواب فاسد. وهذا الحديث مما ينبغي حفظه واستعماله في إبطال المنكرات وإشاعة الاستدلال به. لو تدبر الناس هذا الكلام ممن ينتسب إلى النووي وينتسب إلى المذهب الشافعي ويقول أن النووي عقيدته كيت وكيت لو إيش؟ لو تأملوا هذا الكلام. All right. So Nawawi, he says first and foremost, what's meant by rad is mardud. Any act which is against or outside of this thing of ours, it is what? No matter who says it, no matter who brings it, and no matter how popular it is. And we've said this before, unfortunately, when there's a debate or an argument, why do you do this? Why do you celebrate this? What? They say the scholars of our country have allowed it. The scholars of 1,000 years, no one said anything. قَالَ بِهِ الْجُمْهُورِ. The majority of the ulama say it. None of those things are what? A legal proof. A legal proof, the dalil. No matter how popular a thing is, people in my country, they do it. I come from West Africa. I come from Turkey. It's well known. That isn't a what? There's not a reason that it validates that action. No matter how popular it has become. Moving forward, Nawawi, he says, فَهُوَ بَاطِلٌ غَيْرُ مُعْتَدٍ بِهِ. The deed which is foreign to the teachings of Islam is غَيْرُ مُعْتَدٍ بِهِ. It doesn't even count. It was never even processed. He then states in this hadith, قَائِدَةٌ عَظِيمَةٌ is a great maxim of the religion, a pillar of the deen, a cornerstone from the bedrock of the religion. And it is from the Jawami al-Kalim, the laconic speech of the Prophet, the comprehensive speech of the Prophet. That's why we put it in his 40 to be memorized. It's a cornerstone of Islam. He then states, listen to what Nawawi says, فَإِنَّهُ صَرِيحٌ فِي رَدِّ كُلِّ الْبِدْعِ وَالْمُخْتَرَعَاتِ. He says the hadith is frank and rejecting and repelling all innovations. Bid'ah hasana, bid'ah which is mashhura, the scholars of this country practice it, قال به فلان, Imam Fulan, كل البدع والمخترعات. Anything which is new and made up in the deen, it is rejected. So how better will the world be today if the Muslims pondered on the words of the Prophet ﷺ? Imam Fulan says that, you're a fundamentalist, you're an extremist, you're a Wahhabi. كل البدع. He says all innovations. فهو رد. Matters not. Nawawi rahimahullah, he then states, and in the second version of this hadith, because some people, they may say, well, I didn't make up the innovation. Man ahdatha fi amrina hadha. I didn't make it up. Imam Fulan made it up. I'm just practicing it. Both versions, man ahdatha and man amila. He who introduces the innovation and he who doesn't introduces it, but what? Both are mentioned. So no one can try to wiggle out of it. I didn't make it up, but you're participating in it. You're participating in it. Well, if you don't know, that's a different story. When the proof is brought to you, Now what do you want to do? Okay. No, we hear this states. Now it talks about usul al-fiqh. There's difference of opinion, a fork in the road between the usuli scholars. If the Prophet prohibits a thing, does it mean that the act is corrupt and invalid or not? Just like the example of the divorce. Talaq al-bid'ah. Manhi anha am غير manhi an. Manhi. Talaq al-bid'ah. Manhi. La yajuz. It's unlawful. But is it fasid? So this is a theoretical principle over which the scholars differ. هل النهي يقتضي الفساد? Does it necessitate invalidity or just prohibition? فهمنا? I mean, understand this? Do not divorce your wife while she's menstruating. That's a nahi, that's a prohibition. But if you did disobey, does it mean that the talaq is fasid, is invalid? فهمنا? So that is why the scholars differ. And the theory, they differ. And of course, they also differ on the actual what? The practice. They differ in the theory and the practice. All right. A woman performs hajj without a mahram. She isn't to travel. La tusafir. The hadith states. She's not to travel. That's a nahi. Does it mean that her hajj or act of ibadah, her i'tikaf in Mecca or Medina is wrong? So that is a khilaf in the usul. All right, طيب. No, he finishes his discussion in this hadith by stating, وهذا الحديث, he says, it's necessary for us to memorize this hadith. ينبغي حفظه واستعماله, and using this hadith في إبطال المنكرات, and doing away with these made up hearsays, practices which have no foundation. Why do you Muslims spin around and twirl or play drums and make dhikr, worship Allah by playing the drum or the tambourine? Well, brother, there's nothing wrong with that. When I twirl and spin, I get closer to Allah. We become enlightened. We've practiced it for 800 years, 1,000 years. No scholar said anything was wrong with it, and it's not a bad thing. It brings people together. Spinning and twirling, making dhikr, playing the drum, munkar. It's not from the deen. And it matters not who said it, who practiced it, or, most importantly, it matters not who was too scared to say something about it. For argument's sake, the scholars in your country were cowards for 1,000 years. For argument's sake, they were supposed to say something about it. But the Sultan did it. Mashi, yani. That's not a dalil. They're in the grave. Will they be punished for what they did? Allahu alam. But right now, I'm telling you this wrong. That's what Islam is. Why is Muhammad ibn Wahab the first one to say something about it? No scholar said anything about it. If Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab is bringing Quran and Sunnah to prove his argument, then what? So be it. You have to take it. إنما كان قول المؤمنين إذا دعوا إلى الله ومن أن ما هو قولهم ليحكم بينهم أن يقولوا سمعنا. Us, we hear and we obey. So that's the guidance of the Quran. The Muslim Ummah would be better if we reflected on these words. No comments. طيب. How much time we have left, Nafis? All right, طيب. Let's move forward to the next chapter. Chapter number 10. So we go from 8 to 10. There's a reason why. We've explained it many times. باب بيان اختلاف المجتهدين. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أنه سمع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول كانت امرأتان معهما ابناهما جاء الذئب فذهب بابن إحداهما فقالت صاحبتها إنما ذهب بابنك وقالت الأخرى إنما ذهب بابنك فتحاكمتا إلى داود فقضى به للكبرى فخرجتا على سليمان بن داود فأخبرتاه فقال ائتوني بالسكين أشقه بينهما فقالت الصغرى لا تفعل يرحمك الله هو ابنها فقضى به للصغرى. Next chapter says about the differences amongst the mujtahideen. The differences among the mujtahideen, i.e., when you hear of a ruling or there is qada in which two qadis say two different things. Whose fatwa to take, whose word to take, what's right, what's wrong, what do I do? If and when two qadis, two mujtahids differ. They both have performed ijtihad and they say yes, and others, one says no. What do I do? Where do I go? Very important chapter with regards to the widespread confusion in the world today. One scholar says that I can purchase a house with a traditional mortgage in the United States. And another scholar says you cannot purchase a house with traditional mortgage in the United States. They both have beards, they both wear robes, they both have on caps or turbans, they both have books behind them. I don't know whose opinion to take. Some of those scholars may be wearing a black turban. Others may be wearing a white turban. I'm confused. The scholars in Saudi say this, and the scholars in Mauritania or Jordan say that. And they're both doctors, they're both ulama, they're both fuqaha. What do I do? Where do I go? Much can be said regarding this, much. An entire lecture is needed just on this one topic, on how to navigate through the differences of opinion for fatwa, let alone for qada. I mean, understand this or not? The most important thing is al-ikhlas, sincerity, being sincere. I intend to do what Allah wants me to do, but I don't know what Allah wants me to do. It's unclear to me, so I want to ask the people of knowledge. And whatever they tell me, the one that I trust and I feel is most correct, that's what I'm going to do. If it agrees with what I want or not. I sincerely wanted to follow the truth. This trusted scholar told me, you can get the house with the traditional mortgage. Khalas. Or he says, you can't get the house with traditional mortgage. A beautiful house, beautiful price, you have to follow your sincerity. It's very important. Secondly, is you have to know who should and shouldn't be passing rulings and making ijtihad. Who is or isn't qualified. And there are many things which can bar or prevent someone from being qualified, good or bad. People just think that the person who lacks the Islamic qualifications is the one who can't make ijtihad. It could be the opposite. A person may have too many qualifications. You may say, how is that? Is there such thing as too much knowledge? You may have too many ijazat, too many degrees, and too much formal, traditional knowledge that may, I said, may, doesn't have to, but it may prevent you from being what? Living in what? The modern times. And some of your principles may be obsolete. Yes, in 1953, this was how things were with real estate. Not in 2025. Now, we know that order and discipline is a virtue, but too much of anything is a bad thing. So sometimes someone could be too orderly, too disciplined, too rigid, and too stiff. And he cannot maneuver when he needs to maneuver, and wiggle and break rank when he needs to. And we know from history, this is one of the ways how Hannibal Barca defeated the Romans. The legions, they were so disciplined, he knew what they were going to do. Regardless of the battlefield scenario, he knew that they wouldn't do this or they would retreat like that. He knew it. And he said that their greatest strength is going to be their greatest weakness. And any other disorderly group of soldiers, savages, barbarians would have run. They can't run because they've been drilled to do it like this. So discipline can be a pro, and it can also be a what? A con. You are too rigid, you have too much theoretical stuff in your head to see the reality of things. So therefore, a person who's giving fatwas or making ijtihad or qada, he may have no Islamic qualifications, that's a problem. He shouldn't even be talking, you shouldn't even be listening to that person. Or they come from a time or place in which is what? That's not the reality where? On the ground, on the what? On the ground, in an army. I know what he told us, our mission, our objectives, but I'm telling you right now, we have to do what? The opposite. Or not retreat, but what? Advance. It's right there within reach. So that's the reality of things. So there are different things which keep people from being qualified. You should know these basic principles. I have no business asking this person about this, good or bad. Everyone understand this? So a simple example of this would be, just an example, this person has come from another country. He can give me certain things, many things he can give me, but the specifics about the Western American financial ins and outs, I may need someone who's, meaning what? And vice what? Vice versa. All right, and there are many examples of this. Zealots, far right, far left. Few people who are in the middle, agree, disagree, potato, with respect. Moral of the story is, scholars will differ. The more basic principles you have, the easier it is for you to navigate through the differences without being confused, without following falsehood, and most importantly, without having doubts about Islam and losing confidence in Islamic scholarship. And of course, there's advice that is needed for the mujtahideen, such as maturity. You have to be mature. Mahad gives a fatwa about Islam, about mortgages, it's permissible. He's a dummy. He's an innovator. He's stupid. It's immature. Dr. Mahad, Sheikh Mahad, he's a known scholar of fiqh. That was his ruling. I disagree. I don't think you can get the traditional mortgage. But do I have to abuse him and call him a bad name? That's what? That's immature. So maturity of the people of knowledge, professionalism of the what? Look at the statement and not just at the person. Many people, Mahad, he's a this, he's a that, he's this, he's that. Okay, but what about what he said though? Yeah, Sheikh. Because in his fatwa, he clearly gave 10 points proving the permissibility of traditional mortgages for Muslim minorities. Are you going to attack those 10 points and refute the 10 points? Or are you just going to keep calling him ugly, stupid, and dumb, and an innovator? So maturity is needed for both sides. The one asking the question and the one receiving and I'm sure you can think of many examples of how people lack maturity, lacking sincerity. And all it does is push the people further away from having love and respect for knowledge and its people. Feminism, feminists are this, feminists are that. No doubt. But are you going to look in the mirror and find the root cause of these extreme feminist people? And maybe, just maybe what? You caused it. You created that monster. People don't respect the scholars. People don't want to listen to the scholars. People make fun of the scholars. Maybe, just maybe what? You caused that. You forced the scholars to be a means of ridicule and mockery by the people. So we have to be mindful, huh? We have to be what? And there are different books you can read on the subject. Books in Usul al-Fiqh, Adab al-Mufti wal-Mustafti, Naam. Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, Raf' al-Malam, an al-A'immat al-A'lam. Shaykh al-Uthaymin, rahimahullah ta'ala, summarized and added some things and, made his own version of khilaf al-ulama or khilaf al-fuqaha wa mawqifuna minhu. The differences of opinion among the scholars and our position towards that. What to do, what to say, and how to navigate. Khair inshallah. All right. So we have hadith number 1121. It's narrated by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. I heard Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, there were two women, each of whom had a child with her. A wolf came and took away the child of one of them, whereupon the other said, it has taken your child. The first said, but it has taken your child. So they both presented the case before Dawood, alayhi salam, who judged that the living child be given to the older lady. So both of them went to Sulaiman, the son of Dawood, and informed him. He said, bring me a knife so as to cut the child into 2 pieces and distribute it between them. The younger lady said, may Allah be merciful to you. Don't do that, for it is her child. So he gave the child to the younger lady. Inshallah, hopefully next week's class we'll explain this hadith in detail. Few things to pay attention to this hadith, this authentic hadith, this story is the respect for human life and the respect for the lives of children and the preservation of the lives of children. And this is Sulaiman and Dawood, 2 prophets of what? Banu Israel, the Israelites, the Hebrews. So the people who claim to be Hebrews and Israelites or Israelis today, how much respect do they have for children and the lives of children? Zero is not, they have less than 0. -10, respect for any human life, including lives of Jews. That's a fact. That is a proven fact. And there are many Jewish people who say that a Jew is safer in New York than he is in Tel Aviv. That's a fact. Moral of the story is no respect for the lives of children. Kill them all. So whenever someone calls himself a disciple or descendant of Dawood, David, or Solomon, you know that they're what? Their actions. What does it say in the New Testament? You say that you are the seed of Abraham, yet your deeds are those of the devil. Right? So don't fall for the lies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.